All right, guys. What's up? What's up? It's your girl Jen in the building with another Beautifully You live Facebook conversation. And today I have a special guest. This lady means so much to me. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this conversation with me. And
You're welcome.
I thought that it was so important to get you because of things that we've discussed, what's gone on in your life. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but what you do for a living. Okay. So, you guys, I want to introduce you to Miss Mary Pruitt. She is a beautiful, beautiful person. She has a beautiful spirit, and you know, her heart is always in the right place. And so, Mary, I just want you to take a second, introduce yourself, let the people know who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is Mary Pruitt, and I'm a woman who believes in God, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. What I do for, I guess you could call it a career or my passion, is I run a recovery home for women who are suffering from alcohol and drug addiction. And along with that, a lot of other addictions, a lot of other traumas and things that, that we have to address in order for them to not use drugs and alcohol. And so I've been doing that for the last 20 years. Along with that, I've added, I also sell Mary Kay, where I'm able to reach out to a community of women, not only to do the Mary Kay cosmetics and help them with all of that, but to help them to feel better about who they are. And as I come across, women out there in the world, through my cosmetics, I find that there are a lot of things that I do in my normal everyday business. I find that they're struggled with that too. So I'm also able to help with those kind of things just when I meet, new women for the first time. So I enjoy being a person who feels like they're being, I would say, the person that I was meant to be through God. Doing the things that that I was meant to do, and it's always a being of service.
Yes.
Okay.
Strong, powerful woman, living in her purpose, doing what God intended her to be. So, the conversation that we're going to talk about today, if you haven't already seen, it is about anxiety and depression. I think that this topic is super, super important. I'm sure everybody sees the news and what's going on in the world today. There's a lot of mass shootings. There's a lot of suicides. There's a lot of things going on. And people don't just go around doing these things because they're happy people, right? So I want to kind of get down to the root of it. And so I think that it starts out with, being disappointed. And when you're disappointed, it starts a depression. And then it kind of just spirals into this big thing until people feel like there's no other solution, right?
All right.
So let's talk about what is depression and anxiety.
Okay. Well, most people have it at some time or another, depending on what's happened in their life. Births, deaths, weddings, disappointments with jobs, loss of job, loss of, income,
families.
Friendship, yes, yeah. Through a lot of things. And what happens is that you get in a place where you don't feel like you can really deal with life. You don't want to get up out of the bed. You don't want to take showers. You don't feel good about who you are. You feel like, I remember at one point in my life, I was very disappointed with my life because I wasn't where I thought I should be. After having a third divorce, just really kind of in a place where I didn't feel like I could recover from it. I was born to a mother and father who stayed married for 69 years. And so after my third divorce, just that in itself, the words that I don't know how to keep it together caused me to fall into a depression to the point where eventually I was there long enough and didn't know what to do about it that I picked up drugs and alcohol. And I ended up being out there for a while for that. Thank God for God, because I had an opportunity to get arrested and then offered treatment. And so I'm celebrating 21 years of recovery.
Yeah,
this month.
Congratulations.
This
you
month.
guys go ahead and put some applause in the chat. Put some applause in the chat for her. That is a huge accomplishment.
Right. And through recovery, I've managed to be able to look at, why I ever did that in the first place. Well, like you said, disappointments, and then through trauma. I also had a very abusive husband, and 14 years I was in that. And by the time I came out of the other side of that, I didn't even know who I was anymore. I couldn't smile. I didn't have feelings. I didn't know how to, when things happened, I didn't know how to react to them. And when I did react, it wasn't the right way. And when you stay in those kind of situations long enough, it actually naturally causes you to be in depression if you're not doing something about it, or anxiety, the fear, the fear of something happening all the time, or when that disappointment happens and you can't fix it right away, you fall back into that depression. And a lot of times what ends up happening is that you don't deal with it the way you should. And if you stay around long enough, if you don't commit suicide behind those kind of things, you end up doing things that are not appropriate, things that harm you even more than help.
Wow. Thank you for being so transparent with that. I think that a lot of people look at successful women and, they just think that they can't relate, or that, well, they've never been through anything, so how do they know? All they know is success, and look at where they're at. They have no idea what I'm going through, when in all reality, a lot of successful women have to go through so many trials to become the women that they are, to have that strength to really endure, to really keep pushing forward. So, thank you so much for that transparency. A lot of people, are afraid to share things like that. I've said in previous podcasts before that, I was in a similar situation where, I was in a domestic violence relationship, and it was just very, very bad. I ended up very broken, turned to drugs and alcohol. So you're looking at two people who really had to pull it together. We've really been through some things. And so when we talk about this, it's because we know we've been there. And our only goal with these conversations is to really find people who can relate and who can really take the information and use it for themselves. So I can't even express how important that was. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So when people are going through these things, how do they know when they have anxiety or depression? Because, we were talking earlier and you mentioned some people don't even know. So what are some things that we'll notice when we have this?
Okay. Well, with depression, when a person falls into depression, and there's different forms of depression. There's also, like right now, because of our weather, there's people that have depression in the wintertime. It's a winter depression where they can barely get to work. It's the darkness, it's not having enough sunlight. So sometimes it's that type of depression, and when you figure out, or when you talk with someone, then they help you realize that only certain months out of the year you have it, then you can go get help for it. Sometimes it's medication that you have to actually take to keep you in the world. And then sometimes it's just using some of the tools that the doctors will help you, to use by, first of all, coming up out of the house, taking a shower, going to work, having a attitude of gratitude for your life, thus far. Anxiety, the same thing. Anxiety is usually the fear of all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times both of those come from different traumas, things that have happened in your life. And when you have enough of them, it tips you over the edge. And guess what happens is you fall in that hole. And some people don't know that they're in that hole. And so it takes having supportive people. You got to surround yourself with supportive people and people that you trust enough to tell you the truth. We don't always like it when people tell us the truth.
Oh, Lord, ain't that the truth?
But if it's someone that we trust and we look up to, it's always worth listening to. And, we cannot do anything in this world by ourselves. We just cannot. And especially when we're in trouble with things like, depression and anxiety, is that we need help. We need help to come out of that, and we need solutions. And it's always going to come through another person that's going to be able to help you with that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because I think that, you know, a lot of times we as people get defensive when other people point out things.
Right.
But sometimes we need to realize that those people who are telling us things are people who genuinely love us, because when people genuinely love you, they notice things and they want to help you.
Right.
So don't always be so quick to get defensive when people tell you
That's
things.
right.
You know, take a look at the relationship, consider, you know, who this person is in your life. And even if there's someone new, some new people in your life will just be like, hey, you know, they have a big heart and they see things, and they may have been through that too, and they see these patterns. So, you know, just don't get so defensive all the time, and take a second to listen. Do the two go hand in hand? Anxiety and depression. Like, if you have anxiety, is it like, okay, well, you have anxiety, so you probably have depression, or if you have depression, you most likely have anxiety?
A lot of the times. Okay. Not necessarily all of the time. And some of that has to do with your traumas. You know, we, in this world today, goodness, everybody has trauma. And that's the thing, is that people don't realize that they have trauma. You have trauma if you're sitting here in your house and you hear a bad car accident. The fear of hearing that the next time, you know, causes you to have fear. And if you have enough fear inside your body, anxiety comes along.
Yes.
That anxiety comes along. Depression will come because you don't feel like you're safe enough to go out into the world. So some things are created through trauma. And if we don't realize that they're building up in our system, what ends up happening is that we fall off that cliff, and we're in those, and then we need help to come back from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it's medication that will help you to do that. But again, like I said, a lot of the times it's about having people that you trust enough to help you and tell you the truth when you're there. I know that, you know, I have a son who suffers with that. And I know when he's struggling with depression because he doesn't want to come out of his room. He doesn't take a shower. He doesn't smile very much, you know, and when he finally realizes that that's the state that he's in, then we start talking about what we can do next. You know, let's go for a ride. But last week we went to Tahoe and we just went to Tahoe so we could see the snow. And it's just about changing some things in your life, because, you know, it'll catch you depending on what's going on in your life and how you react to the things that are, you know, coming along your way. We're always going to have challenges. Always, always, always. We don't like to say that or be able to say that, but as we walk through those fears, as we walk through the different challenges, my house burned down last year. And, you know, and was it, should I drink? Should I go hide? No, because it wouldn't have changed anything. And so we learn how to walk through those challenges and, you know, and find solutions for that so that we don't get in a state where we're paralyzed, because depression and anxiety can paralyze you, where you're just stuck in the spot that you're sitting in.
And you know what? I'm glad that you said that. And again, thank you for your transparency, because, you know, I've known you for quite a few years now. And, you know, watching her go through that so gracefully, it was just such an inspiration, because I think to myself, like, you know what? If I ever went through something like that, oh my gosh, I might just fall apart. And, you know, to see all the love that you received was just, it was so beautiful, because everything that you put out when you needed support, when you needed help, it was a village. It was beautiful to watch, and to see how you carried yourself through that so gracefully. Just, okay, let's focus on the solution. What do we do? Right. And then you just kept it all together, kept it all together. And even what you had mentioned earlier about you know, being 21 years sober. I mean, God, that a lot of people would have just been like, you know what? This is it. This is the end. Down to the bottom of the bottle.
That's right. That's right. Where it feels good for the moment.
Yes.
You know, because that's only the solution for the moment. And then, you know, when you come up out of that, you've got way worse problems, you know. So then that cycle just never ends. You're just constantly in that state of fight or flight. You're in that state of depression. You're in that state of fear and anxiety. So that's not the solution.
Right. And then to not only have that happen, but but there were a couple of other super huge life things that you were going through. And if you decide you want to share that, then that's perfectly fine. I would, but to see you go through that on top of all the other attacks that you were going through, oh my gosh, like, I'm so glad that I was able to get you on here, because like, this woman was so strong, and to see the rewards of your strength, it's beautiful. So, I also wanted to talk about, before we get too far, is where it all starts, right? Because people aren't just unhappy or sad, or, it happens at a young age.
Right.
And a little bit of transparency on my part. I've been going through some things with my kids, as far as making sure that their mental health is okay because of things that they've been going through in their personal lives. And so it really just made me want to bring this up even more, is that I think as parents, even as adults who aren't parents, people who have young people in their lives, or, are teachers or counselors or whoever it may be, when you deal with young kids, we really need to make sure that we're preparing them for life. And preparing them for life means making sure that they understand how to deal with emotions, making sure that they're emotionally mature, and that they know how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Navigate obstacles, right? Like, what are the questions that they need to ask themselves? Why do they react the way that they react? How should they react? And I think that takes a lot of adults to be able to teach these to kids. Kids deal with situations because of how they were taught. And so trauma starts at a young age, like you said.
A very young age. And then you have to consider that, when we're growing up, that it's, we're around our family, and depending on if you have a family that's not healthy, that's bad enough. But we go out into the world, and most of the time that we spend is with other people. Our teachers, the jobs that we work, the people we come across standing in line at a grocery store. We form our opinions based on the world out there and the things that happen to us. And so most of the time we're actually forming who we're going to be through others' eyes, and it's not always family. You start making decisions about who, at a young age, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. And if you haven't been taught what a red flag looks like, when someone says something nasty to you, or they do something that's inappropriate, and you figure that'll never happen again, and you continue on with that relationship, and then you're stuck in it. We have to, teach our young people that when you see a red flag, and a red flag is something that in your gut doesn't feel right, you got to do something about it. You got to tell somebody.
Crazy that you said that.
you got to go to somebody you trust, to get. And most of the time we can't make decisions on our own. We, we have to ask for advice, so that we can make informed decisions. But growing up, there's a lot that happens to you when you're growing up, through schools, through your neighbors, through the things, even sometimes your parents. Your parents are, we weren't born into this world. We don't know anything other than to cry and to poop and to pee. And then the rest we learn. So depending on who's teaching you that's the opinion that we form about the world. And then as we go through the world and things happen to us, more traumas happen to us, either natural, like, the earthquakes that just happened, that's traumatizing. The heart,
COVID-19.
COVID-19. I mean, that changed the view about a lot of things, and people are still in fear of it. I'm a person that's in recovery who, when COVID shut down, we all like, what are we going to do? How are we going to go to meetings? How are we going to support each other? And thank God the world jumped into action when it came to, telehealth and Zooms and a lot of things so that people can stay connected to that. So we had a lot of good that came out of that, but it also changed our view about, how we do things. And I still don't go to in-person meetings. I still have a little bit of fear. I still have a little bit of trauma with that. Well, that stops me from doing some things. But if I stay there long enough, I just won't even come out of the house. And so that's when I get into that depression, and then I've got to work hard to come up out of that. And doing it by yourself is almost impossible sometimes.
Yeah, and Joanna asked a really good question, so I want to address that. She said, how do we change the way we react? I think that in this situation, you have to be very self-aware.
Yeah.
Because you have to, in a way, rewire yourself. As humans, we're creatures of habit.
Right.
So we just do what our bodies automatically do, what our mind automatically does.
Right.
And so when you want to change something, it takes attention. Right. You have to catch yourself in the act. Like, my daughters were recently jumped, right? My automatic reaction as a mom is I want to go hunt down every single person that put hands on my baby.
Right.
I had to stop and I had to think. My kids are watching me.
Right.
They're going to learn from the situation. However I handle the situation is going to be how they learn how to handle the situation. So at this moment, I had to make a decision. Am I going to be the mother who goes off the handle, or am I going to be the mother who keeps her composure and gains respect? And when you do that, when you go about things the right way, people are more willing to listen.
Right.
So again, when you want to change habits, when you want to change the way you're reacting, when you want to change anything, you have to be very, very self-aware. Right. Mary, is there anything that you want to add to that? Because that was a great question, Joanna.
Right. And then the other thing is that, we as a people, we need to believe in something bigger and better than ourselves. You can call it a higher power. I choose to call God, because I was raised with a God. I was raised with a God that, through the Catholic religion, who I learned was really punitive. But as I got to be older and realized that challenges are going to come along, that believing in something that's going to protect me and watch over me and help me is that you first have to reach out for that too. You have to ask for help. And it should come from some kind of a spiritual connection, and then you go from there. Like you said, doing things the right way. Nobody's going to listen to you for screaming and hollering. No one's going to listen to you if you just want to fight. They're just not going to do that. As much as we want to do that, we have to be the example for our children, so that when they have things happen, that they pause long enough to make a better decision, an informed decision about what should come next. And they should be able to trust somebody enough to get help with it as well.
Perfect. So, depression and anxiety, these are known as silent killers. Right. Because there's a stigma around it. And I want to turn my attention to men, because I think that in today's society, even back in the day, men had to have this very masculine, I'm the man, I'm tough, I don't have emotions. And that's fine, but I think that men should have a safe place to go to not be judged, because there's so much put on men. Right. And it can become heavy. And so I think my question is, it's hard for men to come out and be open like that.
Right.
Would you agree that in today's society that it's harder for men to come out about this because it's looked at as a weakness? And what are some things that we as a community, as women, as partners, what can we do for men to help them feel like they can be vulnerable or have a safe place to go and talk about things like this?
Okay. Well, first of all, let men be men. A lot of times women are very strong these days.
Oh, yeah.
And we can overshadow men just like that. In relationships, we need to learn how to have better communication. We need to be honest, first of all. And allow men to be men, allow men to feel like, they're they're strong, but also it's okay to be vulnerable at the same time. And sometimes women don't really allow that because we want somebody strong in our lives like we are. Now, over the years, we've become, women can do anything now. I mean, pretty much anything now. Whereas we were in the background, we're in the forefront now. And I think the way the world is now is causing men to feel like they can't reach out. And that there's no place for them to go. And that's, again, about finding supportive people in your life, men and women, that you trust enough for people to be honest, and the same for you, to be able to be honest with someone. When you're hurting, you got to tell somebody. You got to get help with it. Men are so much, trying to be macho and hurting at the same time. And a lot of the shootings and things that are happening now are mostly males. And that's a way to just relieve themselves, to be mad at the world, to be mad at the fact that they hurt and they don't know what else to do about it. That's how they struggle with that. That macho, stand up, want to fight, kind of thing. And that's how it comes out. So I think communication, we need to learn how to have better communication and be honest, and let men be honest. And when they're weak or they feel like they're weak, to let them cry, let them do that, and then together help them get help.
Don't judge them.
Right.
Don't make them feel like
right.
regret for opening up to you, and don't ever use that against a man. If a man feels safe enough to come to you, be that safe place. Allow him to be vulnerable, and regardless what happens in your relationship, don't ever bring it up. Don't ever tell his business. Don't ever make a man feel like he's unsafe with you.
This is true.
Because that will just shut him all the way down. And I've seen it where women have been a safe place for a man at a point in life, and then they break up, and then a woman, because she's scorned, goes and tells all his business. Oh, well, he this and he that. And it's like, hold on, wait a minute. You were my confidant. You were my safe place. You were my partner, and I told you that in confidence. And now look. And so now he's hurt. And now that goes on with him for the rest of his life. Like, I can't trust anybody. I love this woman. This was my partner. Look at what she did. But I love what you said too about let men be men. Like, I think that is a huge part of it, because men need to feel needed by women. They need that. And I think that that's kind of where it starts. If a man can't feel like a man in a relationship, then he's just like, well, what am I? Why am I here? She's the man. She does it all. Let her be.
And as women, we tend to pick at so many things. Oh my gosh. There's so many good things about a person or a man. And we choose to pick on, they don't put the cap on the toothpaste, and then that's an argument for the next week. We have to learn how to the little stuff. We got to let that go, because the little stuff is what takes us out. It's not the big stuff. The big things that we have to make decisions about, we usually figure out how to do that. It's the small stuff. And when you have enough small stuff that that builds up in your system, then it's a big blowout. Then it's like you said, something that you've been told, and then you throw that back in their face. That's wrong. That's wrong. We have to be there for people. We have to be there for men. And just, if they were confident enough to tell you in the first place, then that's where it should stay. Is right there. Because how we heal and how we grow is we got to walk through things, and we can't do it by ourselves, which means we're always going to need to bounce those things off of other people, but it should stay there. You relieve yourself by talking, by writing, by doing and that's where it stays, so that you can move on to the next thing in your life.
Because if you keep bringing up the past, it's going to get hard to be moving towards the future. And
that's right.
So and what you said too about the little things, I'm glad that you said that too, because a lot of the times when a woman starts to nag and it's about little things, there's usually a different problem that you've got to look at. There's a reason why she starts to nag. There's a reason. So that's why it's so important to really have open communication in your relationship, to where you feel comfortable talking to your partner about things that are bothering you, and not holding it in, because like you said, it starts with the little nagging and things like that, when really you're not really upset about the freaking toothpaste cap. You're not. It's something totally different. So make sure that when you are upset, and when you do have something that you want to talk about, an issue to address, that's what you're addressing. Because now you're causing more problems in the relationship by nagging about something that doesn't even really need to be nagged about.
Right.
So.
And there's so many good things about a person. You know, we tend to pick at the one small thing that they do. And it's just like in your life. You do so many good things, and the minute somebody says something negative, you don't focus on all the other good things you've done. You're focusing on that one negative thing, you know, that's somebody's opinion. And people, it's okay for people to have opinion, and you're not ever going to be able to change their opinions about you or anything else. I mean, it is what it is. And that's where we talk about in recovery about, you know, stay on your side of the street. Let people be who they are, and you continue to be the good person that you are. And just know that you have a lot of good things, a lot of accomplishments. Even those of us that are drug addicts, I mean, you know, and we're in recovery. Even in that, we still did a lot of good things, you know. I mean, because here we sit. We're here to go on with our life and be the people that we were meant to be. That was just history. That was just, those were challenges that we needed to have in order to be the people that we are right now. So we need to learn how to, when we really care about somebody, to learn how to respect all the good things and let the little stuff go.
Right. Because nobody's perfect. And I think in relationships, you grow with each other. And, you know, people face adversity together and alone. And I think when people are, you know, going through depression and anxiety, it's just important to have a supportive partner, someone who may not understand completely, but who will be there to support you completely.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, if someone doesn't take action, if someone is going through this and they just keep shoving it to the back, like, you know, our macho men and our macho women, and they're just, they don't want to put that title on themselves, like, I'm depressed or I have anxiety. If they don't take control of it, if they don't admit that there's a problem, what are some consequences that can happen?
Okay. Well, ultimately, a lot of people who don't deal with depression and anxiety, they end up committing suicide. And just in my last year and a half or so, that I've actually had two of my friends who still had sobriety, but felt like they couldn't talk to someone, and they committed suicide. So that's ultimately what could happen. But we also take it out in other ways too. We take it out in domestic violence. The world today, a lot of shootings, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment towards people. It comes out in a lot of other ways. And so what that does is we take the focus off ourselves and we put it on others. And a lot of innocent people have been hurt behind not taking care of their mental health. I mean, that truly. And when we see in the news that, you know, a person killed their family and then they killed themselves, well, why didn't you just kill yourself first? Because they take it out on others. They take the focus off themselves. And it comes out in horrible ways. Horrible ways. And so, again, it takes being around supportive people who listen, who are concerned enough to help. And even if you don't know how to help, just being a good listener sometimes is all a person needs. Most of the time we talk till we hear our solution in our own, you know, in our own conversation. We don't actually need someone to fix it for us, but as we talk, as we work through things, for somebody to hear us when we are talking. And so depression and anxiety turns out to be all bad. And in my case, I run a recovery home where that depression and anxiety, they end up using drugs and alcohol trying to fix it. And all it does is get worse and worse. The spiral goes lower and lower. They end up in prison. They end up with mental health so bad that lots of schizophrenia, lots of things that can't actually be repaired anymore. You know, it causes it to get worse and worse and worse. But, you know, you do things trying to fix it that are not good for you.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, the things that we do to cope end up messing us up even more. It's like you said earlier, it might fix us for the moment or make us feel a little bit better in the moment, but in the long term, it just makes us even bigger mess, right?
Right.
So, I think, you know, especially in my own situation, and I think that this should be big for everybody, whether you're spiritual, religious, whatever it is. How do you keep your faith when you're going through things like this? And, you know, for me, like I said, I've been going through a lot of things, and for me, every single day, I write my love letters to God, regardless what is happening in my life, how I'm feeling, whether I wake up feeling happy or sad or, you know, just defeated. Every single day is a love letter to God. Thank you, God, for another day, because I have another day, I know that my purpose is not yet fulfilled.
Right.
How do you feel?
Well, for me, we talked about, you know, gratitude.
Yeah.
It's really hard to have gratitude and negativity all in the same sentence. It really is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I talked about having, you know, faith, having a God in your life. I made a commitment a few years ago because things were not going so well about 5 or 6 years ago. And every time I tried to fix one thing, it seemed like one more thing was right behind it. And finally I had to stop long enough to say, you know what? I need to have a connection. I need to have my faith come back. And so I made a commitment, and I said it out loud that I promised that I would spend time with God every morning. Yeah. And so I have. I spend about maybe half an hour, 45 minutes every morning. I read out of morning meditation books. I have the daily bread. I do all of that. And the first thing I do when I wake up is I say how grateful I am that, first of all, I'm still alive, but that the things that have happened in my life, that they have caused me to be the person that I am today. Yes. And how I know the person that I am today is through other people. When people say that I do these things, it's kind of hard to believe that that's how they feel about it, because I just do those things. Yeah. I, you know, focus on having gratitude even when the negative happened. My son was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer right after the house burned down. And I don't ever remember feeling scared or sorrowful or why is this happening. I just remember, okay, so we need to pray. We need to do what the doctor says for us to do. And then it's up to God. It's up to what's ever going to happen. And I also became to a point where I was at peace with whatever it was going to be. My son is 42, and so I had to look at it like I've had him for 42 years. And if what comes out of this is that he's not going to be here, you know, that's what's it's going to be. But to be grateful the fact that I was even given the gift in the first place of having a son, of being able to be a part of his life and teach him things that I have learned. Just really taking a look at being grateful, even for the negative things, because every negative thing that's happened or every challenge that I've had in my life, behind that has been something pretty incredible. So you got to hang in there long enough for the miracles to happen, and you got to see the miracles for what they are. And every day we have miracles. Every day. I just got chills.
Oh yeah, and that's that saying. You know, everything happens for you, not to you. And I think that, you know, every challenge is a test of your strength so that you can level up. Right. You know.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And for my house burning down, you should see this incredible house that I live in now.
It's beautiful.
It was built from the bottom up, and every single thing in it, I mean, every single thing, because I lost everything, even my clothes, everything is brand new. Everything is brand new. What a gift to be able to say that through that challenge and through my reactions being good reactions, asking for help, following through, paying my bills because I had to pay my insurance and my insurance took care of it. By doing the next right thing, the next right thing has happened. And I have an incredible gift of this beautiful house that I don't have to worry about now when I retire. You know, because everything in it is I'm not going to have to do anything for it. And so, yes, the challenge, you know, or the you know, when that tragedy happened, it's like I only stopped long enough to say, oh my God, now what do I do next?
Yes.
You know, one foot in front of the other, do the next right thing, and the next right thing will happen.
Yeah, you got to stay solution oriented, because
Right.
if you just focus on the problem, then
Right.
that's all you're going to focus on, and then you'll get stuck there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And that's the same thing with anxiety and depression. You know, when you surround yourself with people that tell you the truth and are willing to help you, there is a solution for that as well. Sometimes it might be lifelong. A lot of times it doesn't have to be. That stigma that you talked about, it used to be really bad. People never came out and said that they felt a certain way, because employers would fire them. You would not get loans. I mean, there's a lot of things that used to happen, but society has changed a lot, where now we can address those things without fear of retaliation, you know, from the rest of the world. And it's worth doing it. It's so worth doing it, because as we walk through that, when we come out on the other side, the gift of coming out on the other side, and what your life is gonna, the richness that you'll have in your life, because you have taken the time to do something about it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how would one overcome if they're currently going through it? And then also in that, because I think that how you overcome is also how you can prevent it. So what is the preventative care and the care that you can do to overcome it?
Okay. Well, preventative would be really taking charge of your life, eating better, doing exercise. And exercise doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym. It means maybe taking a walk. I mean, reading a book, enriching your mind, surrounding yourself with positive people, getting involved with the church, being of service. There's a lot of things that you can do that are outside of yourself that help you to stay healthy. And those are some of the things. If those things happen anyway, and usually it's through trauma that's happened, that means you got to deal with your trauma.
Yes.
If you've been in a domestic violence relationship and you still harbor the heartache, the pain, the resentment, that means you got to reach out to someone that can help you walk through that in the right way. Doesn't mean you have to take medication always, but sometimes you do. Yeah. Sometimes anxiety and depression, after we've had so much happen to us, or the way we eat, or the way we do things, you know, we're self-destructive, causes us to where we have to take medication, because what happens is you have an imbalance. You have, you know, those chemicals cause you to sometimes feel that way. That means, yes, you're going to have to do something about it, but that doesn't mean it has to be forever. Right. It might just be until your body can become healthy again, so that you can deal with those things. But it really is about taking charge of your life. Yeah. You know, all areas of your life. And it's hard because we're human. You know, humans want to always have the easy way, always want to have the good stuff happening. We don't ever want to have the negative, and we don't ever want to have to walk through things that are hard for us to walk through. But those are just a part of life. Yeah. And it's a part of just actually doing it, going forward. And if you don't know how to ask for help, I'm a person, you can call me up anytime and ask me about just about anything. And because I'm 66 years old, I've done just about everything out there. And I have a name for you. I have a place for you. You know, you reach out to people that actually are wise, because wise people can help you get through the things that you get through.
Oh, absolutely. That's why we're friends. No, it's a lot more than that. But she's definitely somebody that I go to when I need to talk, or when I'm feeling down, or when I just need a push, because she pushes. But, you know, some of the things that have worked for me in my life. A lot of people don't know this, but I went to therapy for 3 years. And it was something that really helped me. And Mary said it. It's not that we want people to give us solutions, but as I was talking, as I was going through these sessions with my therapist, you know, I was able to come up with solutions for myself and really figure out, wow, this is what I've been doing. Wow, this is what I've been, you know, letting happen in my life. Like, and it made me realize that these are all choices that I made. Right. This is all something that I manifested into my own life. Right. And that if I just change a little bit, or if I love myself a little bit more to make sure to put myself first, then my whole life could be different. Right.
That's right.
And therapy is what really helped change my life. It was about 5 years ago. And, I think journaling helps. Any kind of physical activity, because it helps the chemicals in your body.
That's right.
Releases the endorphins, helps you to feel happy. And it doesn't mean like a super intense workout going and just sweating bullets for 2 hours on the Stairmaster or whatever it is. It could just be taking a walk around the park with your dog or a friend or, something like that. And you don't necessarily have to talk to a therapist, but finding that support circle, somebody that you can go to just to talk things through, having that safe space. And I also feel like super big on what you put in your body. Right. If you're always eating fast food, you're going to feel sluggish. You're not going to feel so great. It's definitely something that, sometimes people stress eat and it makes you feel good in the moment. But when it all comes down to it, you feel bad about your weight. You feel bad that you ate that much. You feel bad because now you feel sluggish and you don't want to do anything. Whereas if you were to put more fruits and vegetables and water in your life, like I was just listening to somebody and they were talking about the benefits of juicing. Like after maybe 3 or 4 days, you feel so much more energy. You have just your aura, everything else. You got better skin. Who can't be happy about better skin?
For sure.
So there's just so many things, so many things that you can do, and it doesn't have to be anything big. It's just starting.
Right.
Make sure that you put yourself first, your mental health, right? Spending time with your girlfriend, spending time with your family. If you don't have families, your church family.
Right.
My church family has been just so instrumental in my life. I mean, even with the situations at hand, just seeing how people step up for me and my family, it's beautiful, and I'm so grateful. And when you have people like that in your life who are willing to stand up to you or stand up for you, it's hard to feel like the world is against you.
Right.
So make sure that you have that.
Right.
So last but certainly not least, is there any advice that you would give to somebody who is currently, depressed or feeling anxiety, and they don't know where to start? They haven't gotten the help yet. What type of advice would you give them right now?
Okay. Well, I said a lot about having support. Some people don't know how to find, good support. If you feel like you're in that depression or anxiety, you can always reach out to your primary care doctor. You can always reach out and you can start there. So you start there, have your doctor listen to you, and then you go from there. But if you have somebody that you highly respect, reach out to them. They can help you get started, because life is so worth living. Even through all the challenges that we have, all the wars and the weather and the shooting, life is still worth living. It really and truly is. And when we have traumas happen, you're only a victim when they're happening. Once they're over with, you're no longer a victim. So you don't have to hang on to that and continue to stay in that space, because going forward and stop looking backwards, is what's going to cause you to grow and have that incredible life that's waiting for you out there. So I would say, if you don't know where else to start out with your doctor. You tell them, this is how I feel, and go from there.
Yeah. That was great. That was good.
Okay.
Whew. Great conversation. Whew. That helped me. I don't know about you guys, but that helped me. So, Mary, if someone needs to reach out to you for any services or anything like that, how can they reach out to you? I will also tag Mary in this video too, so that if you do need to get in contact with her, you have her Facebook page. But what are some other ways?
Well, you can always feel free to just, reach out to me I'm on Facebook, for all the different things that I do. Reach out through you if it's people that know you, and, you're welcome to have my phone number. I do recovery. I work in recovery. I sell Mary Kay. I bowl. I'm a bowler. That's how I get some of my frustrations out. I am a health coach with a program that helps you to do better as far as your lifestyle, your eating, your exercising, those kind of things. You can always reach out to me. And if I don't know the answer, you can trust and believe that I'll find the answer for you and you know, direct you to where you need to go. Just remember that both Jen and I are very supportive of not only each other, but of anybody that wants to move forward in their life. So reach out to us.
Yep. It's your one-stop shop right here.
That's
she got
right.
it all. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I love the participation. I love the questions. You know, like I said, we do these conversations to help other people learn and grow and spread light on conversations that really need to be had. Right. You know, these conversations, I hope that you're able to relate to as far as your life, as far as what's going on with you. And if you ever feel like you want to talk to somebody or that you have an issue and you feel like and we can help you, then, you know, feel free to hit me up in my DMs. I'm always open to helping other people grow or navigate through life. I mean, it takes a community, it takes a village, even as an adult, you know. So always, always, always know that the door is open.
That's right.
And if you don't already follow my YouTube channel, guys, make sure that you follow my YouTube and my Apple Podcast channel. The podcast is called Beautifully You because these conversations are really about you going through life to become beautifully you. That's what life is all about. Right. So follow my YouTube, follow my Apple Podcast channel, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I mean, just follow me. Thank you again, Mary, so much. I love this conversation. I had such a good time, and I think that, you know, a lot of light was shed. So I hope you guys feel the same way. And if you guys know anybody who can benefit from this conversation, make sure that you share this video with them. And don't forget to press the like button too, okay?
All right.
Have an amazing Saturday, guys.
Bye,
See you later.
Everybody. Have a great day.